I am beyond excited and happy to have both of these trees in my possession now. If you're new here, my name is Bobby. I want to welcome you. And for those of you that have been with me for so long, almost 4 years now, I want to say welcome back. I realize you're kind of seeing a sea of green here in the camera with the existing holly over there and then these two new trees that I bought. I'll give you a rundown of the specs of both of these trees. We'll talk about them for a few minutes. This Ilex behind me is the variety Robin, and I'm really excited to have Robin in the garden. I have a couple of other Ilex, also known as holly, that's their common name, but I have a couple other, several other in my garden, as well as the one you're seeing over here. This is a non-berry bearing Ilex here, but the Robin holly does bear berries, and I'm giving you some close-up shots now. A few of the specs on the Robin holly is that it is hardy in zone 6A to 10B. So that's a pretty wide range. If you're below a zone 6, it's not going to be hardy for you. There are Ilex out there on the market that are hardy for the lower zones, the colder zones, but Robin is not. So she's hardy down to -10 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty good. I'm a zone 6B/7A. We've kind of been bumped up to a 7A. Some sites say I'm still a 6B here in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Some say that I'm a 7A now. So I'm saying zone 6B/7A. Robin can grow 15 to 20 feet tall. Now, in my experience with hollies, they're kind of a moderate grower, not super fast, but not super slow either. So I guess that would be the moderate range. I think I read it can take up to 10 years to reach the full height potential for this particular holly. So 15 to 20 feet tall. You also want to definitely plan, you know, the spaces around and beside, behind, and around when you're planting anything this large, because they're going to spread out as well as up. Now, one of the really cool things about this particular holly that I am so excited about is that it produces berries on its own. It's self-pollinating, so it does not need a pollinating partner. That's a huge help when you're putting in the money and expense to buy something this large. This one is a good 5 feet tall. Of course, obviously I have it sitting on the back of my gator, but it's a good 5 feet tall, maybe a little more than 5 feet because I'm 5'4". So we were like, you know, neck and neck there when I was standing beside it. But when you're spending a little bit more money on a tree or a shrub, it's nice not to have to buy the pollinating partner. So this already has quite a few berries, as you're seeing here. Again, I'll show you the little insert clips again. But it has quite a few berries. It will get more berries next year, and as it grows on, it only produced a few berries this year, and I'm thinking because all of the ones they had at the nursery were kind of jammed in together, so it didn't get the proper light. The light requirements on holly, this particular holly, and I believe all hollies, is full sun to part shade. Another really interesting fact about this particular Robin holly is that the leaves turn maroon in the spring. The new growth is maroon in the spring. So I'm really excited about that as well. I love maroon. We have several flowering plum trees here in our landscape, and I just love maroon. So that's going to be a fun aspect of this holly. All around, I think it's a really nice holly. I like all of the attributes it has. Now, when you're pruning, if you need to prune a holly, you would prune it in the early spring before the new growth comes on. So if you were to need to do that. Now this is going to get in a, what is that, a sphere shape. That's the way this holly grows. Not all hollies grow that way. Some of them will actually grow. I've seen holly trees. Now this may eventually, especially if I were to limb it up, I could turn it into an actual tree. But I like to probably keep this holly in the holly shape. That just says traditional Christmas to me, and you know, traditional holly. Of course, it's going to start producing its berries in the autumn time and in the winter time. The birds will probably go after the berries. It is supposedly deer resistant, so we shall see. The deer these days don't follow those rules all the time, but we shall see. I do have some other hollies that the deer munch on, so hopefully this will be in fact deer resistant. And the other non-deciduous tree that I have is your typical green giant arborvitae. I've been wanting one of these, as I said, for over a year. I do have a couple of Leyland Cypress. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, the deer decided to rub their antlers on the top when the Leyland Cypress were smaller, and they broke the leader out of my Leyland Cypress. All of my, I think I have 2 or 3. They broke the leader branch out of my Leyland Cypress. So now my Leyland Cypress are basically bushes, but they are putting on growth. Once the leader of a tree is broken out, unless you really train, unless you really train a new leader, it's super hard for them to grow and to do what they need to do. So the green giant arborvitae, kind of in growers' minds, in landscapers' minds, now has replaced the Leyland Cypress. They're saying use the green giant arborvitae. It's much more hardy. It's just an all-around easy care, non-deciduous, you know, evergreen. That means evergreen. Beautiful tree. Both of these you can use for hedges, screening. If you wanted to, you would plant them about 12 feet apart, I believe is the rule of thumb for the hedges to grow in. But they make beautiful screening or standalone specimens. The green giant arborvitae also looks kind of like a Christmas tree to me. It has that shape of a typical spruce or fir or one of those trees, but when it fills out, it kind of looks like a Christmas tree because it has sort of the more free-flowing branches and stuff like that versus the straight up arborvitaes, the emerald green and whichever other types there are. So I'm just really happy and super excited. This one is hardy in zones 5 through, there was sort of some discrepancy. I'm watching my camera to make sure it doesn't blow over. But there was some discrepancy. It's hardy in zones 5 through 8 or 9. If you live in a zone 9 and you've had experience with the green giant arborvitae and it's done well for you, please let us know in the comments. I'm going to take a break here and wait for this wind to pass. The growth rate on the green giant arborvitae is really fast, 4 to 5 feet per year. So this thing is going to get, I believe it's 30 to 50 feet tall and pretty big around. Again, you want to, you know, allow, especially if you're doing the screening, the hedge screening, you want to allow about 12 feet in between each tree. But I like that, you know, the growth, it's just going to shoot up. It's just going to put on so much growth each year. With both of these, you're going to want to fertilize them in early spring, and you can use Hollytone. That's a really good organic slow release fertilizer by Espoma. I use the Hollytone on my other hollies and evergreens and things like that. So you'll want to use the Hollytone in early spring. I pretty much only fertilize mine once a year, but you could fertilize them again mid-season. I don't know that that's necessary, and I don't ever do that because I don't remember to do that. We're not going to plant these out together in a video. I mean, it's just basic, straightforward planting. When I'm planting trees or shrubs, I like to leave them an inch or 2 above the planting hole. You don't ever want to plant them below the top of your planting hole, because then you'll have all kinds of problems with drainage and just problems in general. So you want to plant them about an inch or 2 just above your planting hole. You want to mix a lot of the native soil in, and then some good compost. Either buy your compost, maybe you have your own compost, but mostly your native soil if you possibly can. And then I always like to use Biotone starter fertilizer in the planting hole. This gives the root system a good start, and you just pour some in. You know, it gives you instructions on the back, but I always just dump some in, mix it around. And I like to test the hole that I'm planting in to make sure it's going to drain well. Actually, before I put this in, I test the planting hole by adding water to the hole, make sure it's got good drainage. Then I'm good to go, and I put the Biotone starter fertilizer in, and then I put whatever I'm planting in. So that's just straightforward planting. That's what I will be doing. As you can see, these are pretty big pots. I think they're either 5 or 7 gallon pots. So that means a pretty big hole. And then you want to make sure you make your planting hole just a little extra bigger, not just the exact same size as what this is. So anyway, that's the specs. If I've left anything out, I will put it in the description below. These are both pretty easy keepers, meaning they're, they're not fussy. I don't think I said earlier, but the Arborvitae, I believe it does like full sun as well. It probably can tolerate a little bit of light shade, but everything like this usually does the best, these type of trees, in more full sun. I do have one more on my list for this year, I'm hoping, and it is called a blue ice cypress. And it's hardy in zones 6, I believe it's up to 11. It's more of a, the actual name is Arizona blue ice cypress, so it likes hot climates and dry climates. But it will be fine here for my zone 6B because it is hardy down to a zone 6. They're not cheap, they're a little bit pricey. When you're seeing this video, it's the first week or so of November. The temperatures here in our region have been very, very mild. So I'm still good to go to plant. Also, a lot of the nurseries will have their trees and their shrubs on sale. Everything I have bought in the last couple of days, I actually bought 2 Limelight Primes. They were on sale. This was on sale. I did get 10% off of this Arborvitae. So now's a good time to buy. Now's a good time to plant if you live in a zone that your ground has not frozen, hopefully, already, or you don't have snow on the ground. So fingers crossed on the blue ice cypress if you haven't seen one. And if you haven't smelled one, if you ever have the opportunity to smell one, when you smell it, it is Christmas. I mean, the smell to me is Christmas. So you might be seeing that in a future video. Well, as always, I want to thank each and every one of you for your support. I value your time. I truly do. We all are very busy, and especially as gardeners, just trying to button things up and wrap things up. So the fact that you're here with me now watching means so much to me. Until next time, friends, happy gardening. Bye-bye.